All right, welcome to 1010's podcast. We are back again this week. I'm Michael Beck, and I've got Adam and handsome Rob with me, as usual. What do we got this week?
You haven't dropped any of your nicknames to Michael yet, so...
I know. I was listening to the last podcast this week, and you never once sprinkled them in and gave me...
I told you, I didn't say they were going to come
that week.
Fast and hard. They're going to come when you least expect it. I might wait 6 months so that you've forgotten entirely about my threat, and then BAM! There it is.
What do they call those? Easter eggs? Your little Easter eggs that you're planning within the whole pantheon of every episode that we make. Yeah.
You lost me after coming fast and hard. To be honest, I just started laughing at that. Now I'm gone.
So on that note, let's hit up our social media. So we've got Facebook, 1010's Podcast. We've got at the number 1010's Podcast on Twitter. We are on Instagram as well as 1010's Podcast. And you can find us at 1010spodcast.com. And on our website now, we've actually got some features.
We're moving.
As opposed to the nothing that we had before, plus our bios. So we've got, I made a blog post the other day, which you can read on there. Adam is starting a new segment called Cartoons, correct?
Saturday morning cartoons.
Saturday morning cartoons. So,
which is I'm open to options on the name, but it works, so whatever.
Why don't you explain the bit then, since it's your bit?
Yeah, I can do that. So mostly it's just videos from the internet that we find interesting. They could be race car videos. They could be, car reviews for new cars, tuned cars, whatever. Maybe a DIY here and there, some car documentaries, anything we find car-related and interesting.
Now, is it going to be basically new the same as all the other sites are posting out? I mean, could it be old? Could it be random?
It's gonna be random as hell.
Perfect.
Yeah, we're not gonna be that.
Occasionally,
page.
like this week, I posted something that was mildly relevant to what was happening in the automotive world, at least our automotive world, just because that video popped back in my mind. It's the first Gymkhana video that Ken Block put out, which I believe is the best one for probably strange reasons, but I think it's a really good video. I think it's the better one.
But we promise to post, not original because it's not our content, but content that is different than what you would find trending, I suppose, on Facebook.
I've got a long list of very strange things that I probably will end up posting.
Some cool stuff.
Well, then the intent would be that we could also add our own person.
Someday we might.
Yeah, I'd like to.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll definitely get on the video content. Last night we were at Walmart. We were walking through there, and I stopped and looked at their GoPro display. I was trying to,
every single time.
I have a GoPro Hero 3 with the Wi-Fi on it and all that stuff, but I was kind of looking at their handheld carrying sticks and stuff like that. They have this padded floating foam grip. I'm like, I probably need stuff like that.
So we could shoot video individually, you mean? Like we hold the camera?
Yeah, so we're walking around a show, and I'm, pointing it at stuff that I think is cool, and then we can pull off of that and make montages, because who doesn't love a montage?
Absolutely.
Everybody loves montages.
Everybody loves
Even
montages.
Rocky had a montage.
Absolutely. So we hit a milestone today, in fact.
A big one.
Which would
Pretty
be
excited.
a week ago for those listening. So we hit 200 likes on Facebook, which was huge. We didn't think we were going to make it before the show, but we barely squeaked it in. I think we're at 201 right now.
I was fully prepared to lie to all of you and say we made it, because this isn't going to come out for a week. So,
but we were really excited about that. And then we looked at, so when we post our podcast, the company that hosts the podcast that actually saves it somewhere out on the cloud internet things, they actually keep some record of what's going on with the podcast, and they showed us that there were 400 downloads for the month of February,
which was our first full month.
Yep.
And so I think, I don't know what everybody else has managed to do with their podcasts, but I feel like from 3 random guys who live in the middle of Iowa, that's not a bad day.
That's a heck of a start, in my opinion.
Yeah, so we're really excited.
So thank you, everybody, for that.
We had talked about if we were going to have a listener of the week or, someone that interacted with us that we wanted to shout out, but we wanted to thank everybody that has supported us up to this point, because we really had no intentions when we started this, and people are listening and giving us good feedback and want us to keep doing it, so big thank you to everybody.
Yep, we appreciate that.
We should list out individually each of the 201 people that follow us on Facebook right now and thank them individually.
I think we're going to pass on that for this week.
Hard pass.
Awesome.
We had a good week on Instagram. We're up to 87 followers
We did.
now.
Well, you sure it's not more than that? I thought it was more than that.
Just checked, it was 87.
Okay. We were trucking along pretty good on Instagram this week, too.
Instagram and Twitter are strange things to me, because we've gotten like very prominent people that end up following us on both of those.
Right.
And it's
Yeah.
very strange to me.
Like pro drivers.
Yeah, we've got some pro drivers. We've mentioned before we've got an F1 test driver. We've got some semi-pro drivers that have a big
Top Fuel
following.
NHRA driver.
Yeah.
It's neat. Really, really unique.
I mean, I don't know if it's them or if it's their PR team, but I don't care.
Yeah,
It's pretty
it's cool.
cool.
So it's cool. Yeah, thank you to those guys too, because you get followers from that too. Like, oh, Joe Schmo's following these people. Okay, we'll follow them too.
Right.
So cool. All right, anything else before we jump into the topics?
So I was corrected on our Chicago Auto Show coverage. Apparently, the Slingshot is a motorcycle by definition, and you do have to have a motorcycle license to drive it. And if you live in a state that requires helmets, you do have to wear a helmet when driving it or riding in it, which means to me that it makes even less sense than it did when I believed it was registered as a car.
Yeah, I would agree with that, because it would be one thing if you were someone who had a car and liked cars, but you wanted something that was cheaper and kind of on the verge of being a motorcycle, very open top, very, one with nature, but it's just a trike, essentially.
A guy like me who I like the idea, the concept behind a motorcycle, the openness, the one with the road feel, that's very intriguing to me, but I don't like what a motorcycle is in reality, which to me is a death machine.
That's kind of the added appeal.
Yeah, I like living. I have this really strong allergy to death.
No, I understand. I've wrecked motorcycles. I get it, but I still healthy fear, and I like them.
I think it would make way more sense if it was like $15,000, because
Yeah, it's too much.
for $15,000 you could buy the most absolutely ludicrous motorcycle that would most definitely kill you.
Yeah.
And go from 0 to 60 in 2.5 seconds. I don't even know if you
Maybe
can,
less.
if you can even
Probably.
spend like a normal production bike. If you can even, well, yeah,
15.
Hayabusa is probably around 15 grand.
I'm sure that, Ducati and
Those
sure.
are way
fancy companies
crazy
make
price
these
though.
crazy bikes that cost that kind of money.
Yeah, those are like 34,000.
Yeah, so if it was in that $15,000 price range, especially considering it's got a very old engine and an archaic transmission and really not much else going for it, other than it might be kind of cool, I'd be totally okay with it. But 20 to 25 grand, I think is too much money.
I wonder what one of those Cayman Spiders cost.
Way too much money.
Because
Yeah,
now that I know more about the Slingshot, I feel like that's probably its primary competitor.
Maybe.
Well, see, this is weird, though, because I dated a girl that worked at a Harley-Davidson shop, and of course they make fun of those.
Oh yeah, they hate
The
those
Cayman
Can-Ams.
Yeah,
Spiders.
they
Yeah, I
totally
have a
make fun
funny
of-
story that goes with those.
They totally make fun of those, but I think the appeal of those is, and I had another friend of mine that I used to work with that told me the same thing, is it's for people that used to ride motorcycles but can't now.
But
They're aging, or they've
why
got
didn't
some
they get
sort
a
of-
Harley trike or something like that,
Well, so Harley's had the trike, but nobody else has really had an equivalent to the trike.
Yeah, I guess.
So they came out into that market saying, this is a little bit safer. It gives an option to people who don't ride if they want to get into it, but they don't like the whole death and carnage and fire that comes along with a super bike. You can go this route. Or if you're someone that used to ride and now you're disabled or you've got some form of handicap, you can go get a three-wheeler.
It still leans and stuff like a bike, doesn't it?
It's a lot-
It's got more motorcycle feel than a standard trike.
I would describe it like a snowmobile. Like if you can drive a snowmobile, that's what it'd be like driving. Really.
I think you lean a little bit. I think
I don't think it's a ton, but they've got these weird ones that actually have actuators on the front, so when you turn, it really does lean. And I'm trying to think of an example of
I got
one of those.
Facebook targeted ads from some new Can-Am that is turboed,
Yeah, I saw that.
and it has like this little shorty exhaust, like this raw
a hater pipe.
Yeah, a hater pipe, and I'm just like, holy shit! Is that cool? Like, am I allowed to like that? Because
I don't know. It's
privately, it's
the
pretty
troll
fucking
of
cool.
motorcycles.
anything that's maybe that's cool then. Maybe because it's the troll of motorcycles and it's got a hater pipe. It's on the verge of maybe being cool.
So is that front wheel drive, or is that still driven
Rear.
by the rear?
I think it's
I think
it
usually
would-
chain driven or belt driven rear wheel.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I don't know.
I also had a video pop or cross my Facebook yesterday that was Tanner Faust driving a 400 horsepower Slingshot with a built motor in it and all this crazy
Is it
stuff.
really driving, or is it just on the verge of crashing?
It's just spinning the wheel.
No,
as
he's
fast as
like
you want.
drifting it up a like one of those spiral on ramp or
for a parking garage.
ramp.
Yep.
And just like drifting it all over the place, and it's actually pretty sick.
Yeah, I don't understand the whole modifying and putting turbochargers on the slingshot, but
Yeah, Josh Fettis, the shop he works at, they did one, and he said all it does was spin.
there's an
They
LS
couldn't get
swapped one as well.
They couldn't get a good.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was at SEMA. They
weird.
couldn't get a good dyno pass on it because they couldn't keep
Spin the drum.
back wheel from spinning.
yeah. I don't.
Doesn't surprise me.
I don't
Still
get
made a
it.
boatload of power though.
Seems useless, and again a death trap at that point. But
I think that's kind of the appeal on that one though. Like when it's turbocharged and wild and excessive, that's kind of the point then. You know, that targets the same person who'd buy a Hellcat.
yeah, I suppose.
Well, then then you got to put like this 18-inch wide rear tire on the back, and
Put a drag radial on it.
basically,
Yeah, it's probably a giant.
Can I buy a drag radial?
Can I
Well,
get a 315 R888 to slap on the back of there? You think you get some grip with that?
I think the
Maybe.
better option would be like a Mickey Thompson or a Hoosier Drag ET radial or something like that.
I don't know, maybe.
no, because like they kind of did that with the T-Rexes when they came out, because those are a little bit different design. It's a single person seater, but and I like those, but I just can't get my head around the other ones for some reason.
Yeah,
I'm
those-
not going to run out and buy one anytime.
No,
Those were-
those are even more overly
Yeah, I was
priced.
gonna say those are way more expensive than the Slingshot. So I don't know. Maybe comparatively speaking, the Slingshot is okay, but I still think it's more expensive than a Can-Am.
I think the T-Rex is more expensive than the Slingshot because that was a small company and they didn't have the manufacturing capability that Polaris does.
Oh, I'm sure.
And it seemed a bit more interesting than a three-wheeler with a Pontiac motor in it.
Is that made in Spirit Lake, the Cross or the Slingshot?
I don't think so.
I think that it might be. Yeah,
That'd be pretty
I thought-
cool.
yeah.
we should probably stop talking shit about it then.
No,
I don't care.
I don't care.
Support
I
our
don't-
Iowa manufacturing.
Yeah, they make those, or they make stuff in Spirit Lake.
I don't know. I'm not mad at people
I don't
buying
think
them. I
Robbie
guess.
applied for a job there once.
I did.
If somebody wants to buy one, it's fine.
He was going to engineer the shit out of a Victory motorcycle for you.
It's not for me.
I think they had Victories. I don't think they had the Can-Ams or anything like that. Or not Can-Ams, the Slingshot.
Yeah,
The
I know they
Slingshot's
make
new, though.
Victories there. And don't they make snowmobiles there?
I thought they did motorcycles. I
Is
don't
it
remember.
just
Four-wheelers.
motorcycles?
I thought they did four-wheelers.
Is that what they do? I think they make Victories there too.
Well, I thought the plant up in Minnesota was the bigger one.
We should get a tour.
Oh,
Why
we
not?
should totally
That's a
make
good
call.
point, actually. Yeah, we can call them up.
Then we could tell the actual truth of what's going on.
Yeah, because we have no idea what we're talking about at all.
Talking out our asses
We're just-
right now,
Yeah, we
lying.
don't know anything about specs, prices, just making shit up. So on that note, let's jump into the topics.
Yeah, this week we're going to talk about
personal stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
some of our own stuff.
It's probably not going to be a cargument this week. Maybe.
Maybe.
The race season is fast approaching. All of our schedules have been released, and so the planning has begun, and the countdown to race day has begun.
Yep.
Actually, Adam, you should plug your schedule.
I have a Google Calendar that I maintain. It's public. If you want it, hit us up on in the messages with an email address, and I'll add you to it. It has all of the events for the DMVR SCCA region, the Iowa SCCA region, the Sioux Falls Sports Car Club, or the Sports Car Club of Siouxland, I guess. They're a NASA group. Then there's a couple of small ones, like some of the local Corvette clubs hold one or two autocross events a year. We like going to those. They're fun. Upsetting old guys with their Corvettes. That's always entertaining. All the NQS events, whatever. So if you want on that, it's a nice way to show up right on your phone. Let us know.
Yeah, super handy.
I like it.
So the first thing we were going to talk about was we've got 3 or 4 cars that we intend on racing this year. We've run into some snags, issues, maybe not gotten as much done as we wanted to get done this winter.
I think all of us have had that happen.
We've all had some snags and issues. So I think we were just going to go through and talk about each one of the cars and the state that they're in and what we're going to try to get done and by what date, and just kind of have a conversation about that.
Yeah.
So whoever wants to kick that off.
Robbie, why don't you kick that off?
All right.
Robbie's been doing the most work, probably.
I'm really glad that Robbie's in as good and upbeat of a mood as he is right now.
He should be in a
'cause
great
I kind
mood.
of expected him
Today's
to be in a bad mood, actually.
Well, that's because I put in a lot of work the last 2 weeks, and I'm feeling a lot better about it. Because 2 weeks ago, I would have been not quite so proud.
He had some victories this week.
Yep.
Or today, even.
He had some
today.
victories, but then he also found out he's. I mean, but he's
it's
moving
It's
along.
not as
Proud
bad
of
as
him.
I thought.
Tell us what it is, though.
All right, so last year I had a SR20 with stock internals, so I bought a different SR20 that some guy locally had built. He must have spun a bearing and then had it completely remanufactured, So I can list off everything I got in that engine. It's got forged rods, pistons, remand crank, Brian Crower cams, titanium springs and retainers, new head gasket, new oil pump, new chain, new gaskets everywhere, 750cc injectors, Tomy rocker arm stoppers, and an oversized oil pan. What else did I do? Did I miss anything?
You know if that oil pan's like baffled and all those fancy things?
Yes, it is.
That's pretty cool.
Nice.
Yep. So, yeah. So I bought that, and I actually bought it for less than the parts would have cost me.
You found that on like
Craigslist.
some internet forum?
I found it on Zilvia.com first, and he had it for sale for the longest time. And then I think he actually had it for sale on Craigslist locally. And I messaged him saying, "Hey, is that still for sale?" And he goes, "Yeah, if you want it, come get it."
Was he in Des Moines?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Down by
I
the
think
airport.
it's funny that he finds it on like a pretty big, like
Forum.
probably the biggest forum for those cars, and it just
Yeah.
happens to be down the street.
Yep. And I've bought stuff from him before. I actually bought it's like a Godspeed turbo for like $90 off of him, and I ran that for a year and a half. And
That thing
then,
was so laggy.
yeah, then I shelled it out or burned it up, or whatever. But I mean, it was a $90 turbo.
That
Who
turbo
cares?
was more laggy than the one I've got on my truck. It was pretty funny,
It wasn't as well. It's journal bearing, so kind of by design, it's going to be
I
laggy.
suppose.
But I mean, yeah, for $90, I had a lot of fun with that.
As long as it didn't shell out and go into the cylinder,
Yeah, it didn't go back into the engine.
Yeah,
No,
you should be fine.
I went from 272 to 325 horse on that one.
He got me in a bunch of trouble when he swapped those turbos, though.
That was bullshit.
What
It's a
happened?
long story, and we don't want to
You
go
wanna
into
okay,
that.
never mind.
Yeah. So that was the big one. I obviously pulled out my old engine, swapped over everything that was applicable to the new engine, dropped in the new engine, which was a nightmare because I did it alone because I have too much pride.
Robbie,
Robbie's
Robbie's
want to
kind of
call
a funny
anybody
guy because I live about an hour away. Michael lives 40 feet away.
And that was not true at the time.
Yeah.
No, I was here when you put that engine in because you texted
really?
me a couple days later. Yeah, the engine's in. I was like, dude. And I talked to you the week before that. I was like, dude, text me when you get ready to put the engine in. I'll come help.
Nah, he wants to do it by himself.
Yep, so
he's super hardcore into this built not bought thing.
Yep. So
He doesn't even get help.
No, I disconnected everything, pulled it out with my buddy's cherry picker. Josh, thank you for letting me borrow that. I still have it in my garage. I need to bring that back. Then, put all the other stuff on the engine, dropped the new one in, and then spent an entire Friday night trying to line the stupid thing up so it sits into the engine mounts right and get everything in correctly, and that was a nightmare alone.
If you had had two people,
I was just going to say the same thing. I bet that
gone
gone way faster.
It would have
if he'd
taken like
just asked for
10
help.
minutes if I would have just called somebody.
somebody could have just,
Walked over.
moved the piston on the cherry picker just a little bit, shake it, let him slide
I
the pin
literally
through.
don't do anything if I'm not at work. Like, I have zero social life outside
I
of
know.
you two. So I most likely was sitting on my couch watching some stupid show that Katie was watching and thinking, boy, I really wish I had something better to do.
I know for a fact that I was at my place, which is basically Robbie could throw a rock at his inside wall, and I would hear it because they're attached.
They share the corner of walls.
Yeah.
where two walls meet. They're
Basically, it's like a brownstone walk-up, but it's not that fancy. Like if you think of a New York brownstone walk-up where you've got a bunch of houses in a row and they're all attached, it's like that.
Yeah,
so
we're two
Robbie
houses
lives
down.
on the front side of it, and Michael lives on the back side of it, and they're kind of kitty corner. They're one unit over and the opposite side.
Right. So I know for a fact that I was home and not doing anything, and he was over here struggling and swearing to get that engine in.
They can
I may
connect
or
to
may
each
not
other's Wi-Fi. That's how close they
Yeah.
live.
Yep, I may or may not have thrown some tools in, but that was because twice in the year previous, I had you, Adam, and then my other friend Tom come down and help me put a transmission in without a hoist, with just
And we
jack
still haven't
stands
let
and a
him live it
transmission.
down.
You can
So
hear
you won't let me live that down,
you
and I
can hear
want to do this
Katie
alone
laughing in the background.
because it was not easy
was quite
pushing
a
that
night.
transmission back into place.
We ended up just basically getting underneath the transmission and
Bench pressing it
up into place. It was quite.
That would have been nice to have you with all your gains.
Here's the funny thing that Robbie.
swole life.
Funny thing that Robbie doesn't know is that I told Adam I was probably going to help Robbie put the engine in, which obviously never happened. Adam said, "Yep, that sounds good, but here's the thing: do not swap the transmission. If he asks you,
Not worth it.
if he asks you to swap the transmission, you leave.
You've got gym things to do that.
you
night.
guys.
Oh, I'm so busy.
dramatic.
Oh, look at all these things I have to do.
There's
So dramatic.
something. Nah, it wasn't that bad. It was definitely not the worst thing I've ever done. No one got hurt. It could have been worse.
Yeah, I hate swapping transmissions on cars on jack stands, though. It makes
It
me
was not
so
fun.
nervous.
had one.
There's no
That's
good
not true. I
way.
had 2 jack stands.
There's-
One jack.
Jack. You're mixing tools here, Katie.
It's a little guy.
One jack stand.
No,
No,
the
two
car was
jacks-
on jack
Well, we couldn't
stands.
use them.
I have the really cheap Craftsman kit for like $60. It's got the jack stands and the jack.
4 jack stands and a jack. What more do you need?
Yeah, exactly. And
No,
I do need to
don't-
replace that.
Even if you have a lift and all that stuff, there's no good way to do transmissions. They just suck.
I'm convinced that, at least in any of my cars, I'm convinced just take the whole thing out. Take the
After-
engine and the transmission out. Just
After
take 'em
this
out.
December, I will wholeheartedly agree. It was easier alone to pull the whole engine and transmission out and put it back in.
Yeah, I won't do it anymore because we did it on the Fiat
Pro
2
tip.
years ago.
Yep.
And it sucked doing it there. And I know on the RX-7, that whole assembly is just so tight. I don't know if I could get the transmission shaft shook out from the
That's the hardest
engine.
part.
Right, or get it back to. There's no way it would go back together.
Yeah. it
Absolutely
sucks
not.
Really bad.
So there's our pro tip for the day.
Yep.
Just take the whole thing out and save yourself a little bit of work.
Or pay someone else to do it.
Yep. The more you know.
All right, so you, Robbie,
So
had
that's-
some trials and tribulations over the past couple of weeks.
Oh, no, I'm not done listing off my changes.
Oh, boy.
That's where I started.
Robbie doesn't screw around either.
So many
Not,
things.
that is-
not
this
only
is
does he
the-
do all the work by himself, he
This is
orders
why
some shit.
I love
he makes
Iowa.
me feel really bad about myself because like it's 12 degrees outside and I'm like, I really should be working on my car, but it's too cold. And I've got like 4 different heaters in a big garage, and Robbie has none of those things.
I have a
and he
$20
gets-
space heater that kind of heats my garage.
He gets so much shit done.
Okay, so where was I? Oh yeah, but this is why I kind of like Iowa, because we do technically have an off season, and I can make dramatic changes. So the car you saw in October is nothing like the car you're going to see in May, and I've done that 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
And so that was the engine I replaced. The next thing I did, I replaced all of the control arms, sway bars, support bars, what else? Lower, front, rear, lower control arms, everything.
Is that double A arm front and bottom, or top and bottom then, or
I guess it's got an upper bar that goes around your suspension, and then it's got
do you have 2 control arms on the front, on each side, one on the top, one on the bottom,
just in the rear.
just in the rear?
Yeah, because the front just has your lower control arm.
So you
and a
have,
tension
you
rod.
have McPherson strut on the front then.
Yes. Okay. So then I replaced all that. The rear is completely Megan parts, and then the front I have Phase 2 Motorsports, and that has the curved tension rod, so I can have bigger rims. And
Those are the lower control arms.
yes, correct. Sorry. And yeah, so I love that. It's all powder coated blue. It looks really good, and it's fully adjustable. I can play with toe, camber, caster, everything this year. So I'm looking forward to that.
$10 says if Megan made their stuff in red, Robbie wouldn't have bought it.
That's not true. I for the price, there is not a better suspension setup.
That might be, but it didn't hurt that it was blue.
I loved that it was blue.
You got the pinstripe on the side of the car. You got to keep the color the same.
My color scheme is perfect.
His color
Everything
scheme is
is
pretty
blue.
spot on.
Everything's Megan powder coat blue, and it just works.
Yeah.
It's pretty impressive.
It's pretty good.
So
I'll
and that's
give him that.
basically pure coincidence. But then I have the red accent on my brake caliper, and I like that. I think it looks good.
Those are like Nismo 350Z or something like that, aren't
They're
they?
the 300ZX 30 millimeter with 350Z track rotors.
Is that what it is?
Yep. Okay, so I did that. I relocated my battery to the trunk. Replaced the tie rod ends. Now that I think about that, I also have 17 by 9.5 RPF ones that I'm going to put 245 A7s on, and I don't have the tires yet for that.
He's gonna race
Sticky.
He's gonna race some sticky slicks this year.
Yep.
I'm really excited about it.
Oh, and I forgot. I put in a Sparco Evo 3 in my passenger seat, which you guys make fun of me for because now fat girls can fit.
Should have kept a narrow frame
I know. I
seat.
should have just
yeah,
got
what
another
size?
Corsa.
What size is that seat?
American. Fat.
It's full American.
Fat.
Well, the thing is, your driver's seat is a 30-inch seat.
Yep.
I love
You
that
cannot
seat.
fit in that seat if you have anything bigger than a 31-inch waist.
So only myself and Robbie can sit in the driver's
I
seat of
fit
that
in
car.
it.
You can get in it?
Yeah, I fit it fine.
Yeah, so it's real
Not that
tight. It's
fat.
perfect.
I didn't say you were
I'm out
fat.
of shape. It doesn't mean
I did not say you were fat. You
Fuck
took that the
yourself.
wrong way.
Yeah, but no, the only reason I got this Evo 3 was because some guy bought 4 of them, put them on eBay, said, hey, a customer bought 4 of these, changed his mind, and now I'm stuck with them.
Who buys 4 seats?
Didn't ask. But so he had 4 of these brand new Sparco Evo 3s.
Changing the seats out on his Panamera, I think, is what happened.
It could be. There was a Volvo that got posted on Speed Hunters a while back. It was a station wagon, and he had I don't remember what I don't think they were Sparkos. I think they were Recaros or something, like maybe Brides. But there was 2 in the front, 2 in the back, and he built like a special center console that went through the whole middle of it. It was pretty sweet.
It is
I
sweet.
like it. So yeah, I bought that, and then of course it's way too wide, so no brackets work, so I have to fab up my own, and it fits perfectly. But yeah, back to the story. The guy had 4 of them, stuck with them, and then he had them on eBay for like, I don't even remember what he had them for, like $600 some bucks, and they're brand new $800. So I offered him, I was like, well, would you sell me one for $400 shipped? And he did it. I got a brand new Sparko Evo 3 shipped to my house for $400.
What's the retail on that?
$825.
Oh, God.
Man.
That hurts.
So I had no choice but to buy the Evo 3.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Yeah, I would have too.
The week before, I was negotiating a price with some guy on Zilvia to get a Evo 2 or 1 shipped to me used in okay shape, like it was kind of beat up and there was tears in the seat and whatnot, and he wanted $400 shipped for that one. So when I got a brand new one for the same price, I couldn't argue with it. I had to.
Did you tell that guy, like, hey, sorry, I got a new one for $400?
No, I just stopped emailing him.
You keep your trashed up seat.
Mm-hmm. I honestly don't know if he ever sold it. So, what the rest, so now I couldn't get to run. Last week I decided it was crunch time and I no longer go to the gym until my car is done. So I go to work and I go straight home and start working on my car. I got it running yesterday, ran like crap, and I was really nervous. I went to like extremes. And I was really sad, thinking the engine's screwed. It's running so bad that this can't be right. We're convinced it was only running on 2 cylinders now, and that the cam angle sensor is bad. So it's only sending a signal at the 1 degree instead of both 180 and 1 degree. So I ordered a new cam sensor, and hopefully that fixes it.
And then you just got to get a tune.
Yep. And then the rest of the things I got to finish this year are just basically aesthetics. Well, I guess you could argue that they're functional, but not really. I want a splitter in the front and a skid plate, bash plate under my engine.
Yeah, that's probably a wise idea. We race with some pretty rough stuff around here.
And especially since my oil pan is a cast aluminum, which is I understand it's a very stupid.
Now you're living that Volkswagen
Yeah,
life.
it's a very stupid design.
Breaking oil pans.
But
you're going to know, though, if you do it.
yeah, there's no question.
Shut that shit off.
Keep
Real
an eye.
quick.
You got an oil pressure gauge, right?
Oh, yeah.
We're good.
Yeah, you'll be fine.
No big deal.
Yep, so that's where I'm sitting. It was a long, hard winter, but I'm excited for the season.
Car's going to be awesome.
It's going to be pretty sweet. It's
So
going to be
much fun.
stupidly fast.
The internals are well past capable of what I can do. I don't know about the injectors. And then the turbo that I have is capable of 450 horsepower. So realistically, I should be sitting around at least 400.
That's like a legitimate Garrett.
Yeah, Garrett
Ball bearing.
yep. GT 2871R.
That's what up.
It's very nice.
Killer. Is it my turn?
I think I'm done.
Yeah, why not? You
I'll
can
do
go
my
next.
deal.
I'll go. Yeah, that's fine.
So the Fiat, nothing really changed on the Fiat. I need an alignment.
Ready to rock?
The 124 should be ready to rock. After I broke it twice last year, I think everything's fixed. So A-arm and the whole front K-member, or whatever you want to call that thing, got all welded back together by the end of last season, so I didn't get to run it.
Better, stronger, faster.
Should be. I think so. There's less rust in there, so that's always a plus.
That means it's heavier.
Yeah, that's a good point. Maybe slower. So as soon as we get that aligned, I should be good to go, I think. I took it out on a closed road, of course.
Always.
It was a closed road, and
Safety first,
on a
kids.
track with no one else was around.
ran it out to, I don't know what it was, 80, 90, and it was good. Felt good. Brakes need balance, but that's a constant fight with that car.
Oh, really? I didn't realize
Yeah,
that.
left, right, it always wants to do weird shit, so you got to bleed them constantly. So you should probably do that and get in alignment, and I mean, it's good to go. The RX-7, on the other hand, is a lot farther away than that, but it's really not too bad. It's just a matter of being diligent and disciplined and getting to work on it every weekend.
You've made some big progress on it.
Made some big progress. Obviously, the engine's in, the transmission's in, the rear end's in, all the suspension is in except for the sway bars. I need to track down some sway bars of some kind because when we bought the car as a roller, it didn't have any sway bars in it. So I think I'll probably, I don't know, I'll get some cheap ones or I'll get some used turbo sway bars just to kind of, because I want to baseline it, you know what I mean? I don't want to buy anything too crazy and then, you know, it screws it.
Find out that's not what you wanted.
Right, it screws it up, and then I got to buy something else. I would just like to have what's stock, and then go from there. Decide if I need something that's stiffer or bigger or whatever. But let's see, what else do we need to do? I need to order the rotors and pads, which I have picked out. I just need to get those ordered probably this week so we can do that next weekend. All the engine accessories. So I think I told the story before, but that engine came from a police car, a 95 Caprice police car. It's got the top end and the heads from a Trans Am. So it's basically a stock F-body motor. And then it's going to have headers, cold air intake, all that stuff. So it should make a tiny bit more than a stock F-body did in 96, 97. So if it makes 325, I'll be feeling pretty good about that.
So you're running stock cam and all that?
No. Well, it's a stock cam, but because it's got rocker arms, you can put a longer rocker arm on it and effectively increase the lift and duration of the cam. So it's kind of like a cheater way to change the cam profile. So we did that. We put 1.6 to 1 rocker arms on it.
So it's going to lope?
It'll lope a bit, yeah.
Perfect.
It'll get a little lope to it. It'll sound good. And like I said, I'm going to put a really shitty idle tune on it. Because
I love it. He's going to tune it.
Explain to the listeners
poorly
what you're doing.
on purpose.
So if you look at like older carbureted, non-electronically controlled timing muscle cars, they lope real hard because of the tune. And I think it has to do with it's something to do with the timing. It's either retard or advance at idle that causes it to lope
with really big
big
cams.
Right. So I got to go back and look through my specs and see what you got to do. But either you advance or you retard the timing at idle, and then it makes it lope real hard. So I'm going to do it. I don't really care what it does to the engine.
No, it sounds awesome. I don't care what anybody says, so I'm good with it.
Let's see what else. Put the engine accessories on. We should have all that. I may have to order a new water pump, but obviously that's not a big deal. I've got the spark plugs and the wires, all that stuff for the ignition. All that stuff should be ready to go in. I've got that 6AL box that Adam gave me. We horse traded a carburetor for a ignition box.
Is that what we're going with?
I don't know. Sure. We swapped some parts and we don't know who owes what to whom. But I'm going to try to put that 6AL box in and get that to work. What else?
Make a huge difference.
Yeah.
Like when my dad had a drag car, he put one on there, and like from not having it to having it, like you could literally feel a difference with the car idling, just standing next to it. You could feel that MSD box was doing.
It's a much better charge, and I think the 6AL is a multi-spark box too, isn't it?
Yeah.
So the nice thing about those multi-spark boxes is that under a certain RPM, it's doing multiple sparks at a time.
I don't remember what that number is, but it's fairly low.
Yeah. So it's just giving you a much better, cleaner charge, and it's consuming basically all of the fuel, the air-fuel mixture, when it charges because of the multiple sparks.
I have multi-spark boxes on both of my vehicles. I really like them.
Yeah, they're nice and handy. What else we got here?
Cars start a lot easier, too. If you have a car that's hard starts, those especially like a high compression motor or something like that, I bet that would help a lot.
I need to get a flange that holds the U-joint for the rear differential, which is just some random Mazda part that I need to try to find that nobody makes.
Can you go to a dealership, or how are you going to do that?
No, I think I found one guy that is still manufacturing them. It's basically just a plate, and then it's got a receptacle for that U-joint on it. And then obviously that U-joint connects to the drive shaft.
Sounds like a junkyard trip to me.
Maybe.
Let's do it.
I got a junkyard run I need to do, so.
I need to find a Turbo 2 in a junkyard, though. That might be hard. That might be a little tricky.
We'll find you one. We get you a diesel Cummins turbo.
There we go.
Anybody knows of a junkyard locally that might have some stuff we're looking for, let us know.
You should definitely hit us up.
I need first-gen neons, so keep an eye out for that, people.
Splice together the wiring harnesses. So we've got a Trans Am wiring harness that needs to be spliced into the RX wiring harness. We have a guide for that, so that shouldn't be a big deal.
Is that like a lot of wires, or
no,
just
not really.
A couple?
No, just a few wires, just enough to make. Basically, you've got to get, obviously, the signals from the ECU for the engine management to the engine, to all the sensors, so you got to make that connection. But really, the splice happens between the controls in the car, the light controls, the turn signals, all that. You got to splice that into the Firebird or the Trans Am harness and make all that work.
Gauges, that sort of thing?
Yep. So it's really not too bad. There's not too many wires to splice in. And the nice thing about Granny Speed, who made the kit to do the swap, they've got a guide that shows you, you just look for these wires. They're these colors, cut them here, and then splice them into these wires in the RX-7 harness. So,
nice.
Not bad at all.
Didn't you have, Robbie, didn't you have a wiring harness issue with your car?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to bash them because they've done really well by me, but I bought a brand new wiring harness and just tried to use that, and it changed way too much. My voltages, even on my like TPS, were dramatically different. Like with the OEM one that was actually done by them originally, they just changed the connectors and made it so it was a swapped type. So I guess the SR20 to the 240SX. My voltage on my TPS right now sits at, say it's closed, it sits at 0.4 volts, and when it's wide open, it's like 4.5 volts. When I put the new harness in, it was low, or when it was closed, it was at 1 volt, and then when it was wide open, it was a full 5. And it just that changed a lot of things, knowing the resistances were different, and I don't know, I could not get it to communicate with my ECU, so I just decided to not use it.
Have you contacted them?
Yeah, they told me it was my ECU.
Oh.
And then when I called AEM, they told me it was a harness.
That sounds like pretty standard.
Yep. So I pulled the new harness all the way back out, put the old harness back in, and now it runs. Well, sort of.
Closer.
Let's see what else.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. So I need to get a bracket solution for the seats, those Corbo seats.
So did you have the factory rails and all that?
I have the factory rails, and the nice thing about the factory rails is that they're flat. So the connection point for the seat, so basically where the bracket connects to the stock seat, is flat.
So you could just buy some flat plate steel, drill some holes in it, weld it to the factory, or bolt it back into the factory rails and put your seats in, couldn't
Right,
you?
yeah, and it would save me like $250.
Because you need adjustability, right? You and your dad don't have the same driving position?
No, and I don't know. I don't like bolting seats to the...
Yeah, I wish I could move the Omni. It'd be nice.
Yeah, I just like having that adjustability. You never know.
Right.
It's just nice to be able to move them. So
that's what I had to do with
Sometimes it's fun to let someone else drive your car here and there.
Right. Yeah, so I can adjust the Corsa in the driver's seat, but the Evo 3 is...
The passenger seat wouldn't be so bad.
No, I don't care about the
nobody cares about the passenger seat.
so
That's
much.
why I just put it as far back, well, not as far back, but basically as a ways back and in a nice, comfortable position and call it a day.
The other thing I have to figure out is some sort of front aero solution. So it's bizarre, that RX-7's not a big car, but the engine sits way back. I mean, it sits way back by the firewall, and it's all that weight is either on that front axle, point or back, which is pretty amazing.
So is it nearly mid-engine then?
It's pretty close to mid-engine. Yeah, you'll have to look at it when it's
That's
together.
What's up.
It's surprisingly far back towards the firewall, and there's a lot of space in the front. And my concern is I would like to run some sort of under tray / front aero solution so that, mud and water and all kinds of shit isn't flipping up onto the front of the engine.
Well, I mean, not at autocross speeds, but on track days and stuff like that, air getting caught up underneath the hood like that is... I mean, it creates lift, it creates drag, both things we don't want.
Right. So that should be pretty easy. As you and I talked about, Alumilite makes what is it exactly? It's
so Alumilite is like this honeycomb cord aluminum panels, and it's very light. I think it's very similar to what they make street signs out of.
That makes sense.
Because they talk about on their website, they talk about how it has like wind load rating.
Oh yeah,
like if it's vertical for street signs, and but a lot of high level time attack guys who don't quite have the budget to make everything carbon fiber molds and shit like that will use Alumilite for flat panels, under trays, splitters, maybe some of the wide body stuff, and then fill the rest in with fiberglass. And so I like the idea of using Alumilite better than I know some of our local guys have built their splitters out of ABS plastic and even plywood. I don't like plywood because it's too heavy. Mm-hmm. And ABS, when you hit something with it, it's just going to crack. It's going to break.
Oh yeah.
This Alumilite,
from
the way it looks like, I think it's going to flex a little more. So when you're street driving this car, if it drags a little bit, it is what it is. It'll flex, it'll bend. It's not terribly expensive. It's fairly light. I think it's the way to go.
So I'll build some sort of front splitter / under tray for the front of the car to get the air flowing underneath the car as opposed to ballooning up underneath the engine. Yeah, so that'll be good. And then I think it's really just a matter of getting some tires, getting them mounted, pray to God that the front tires don't rub on the fenders because there's a surprisingly small amount of space up there for tires.
Chaz bought a fender roller, and he seems to have every intention of you and Robbie both using it.
I talked to him this morning about it. He said he could bring it down today if I wanted it.
I'm gonna have to roll. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to roll because the 255s that are on it are like a fat 255. They're Nittos, and I don't remember exactly what Nittos they are, but they are wide. And so I'm gonna go to a 245 and an RS3, and I'm hoping that that's gonna tuck under there at least a little bit.
That'll be a good tire.
You're planning on running 200 treads on those?
I think I'm just going to run 200 treads exclusively for now. I'm going to look out and see if I can find any sort of Hoosier takeoff, but I think chances are...
Well, you were talking about you maybe pushing the edge of what your stock axle can handle.
Yeah, I've been told that... Jesus Christ,
it's
Adam.
Chaz.
Jeez, Adam.
Should I answer and be like, dude, we're recording podcast?
Amateur hour, letting your phone ring during a podcast.
Are your ears burning?
Jeez. So I don't think that those axles will take more than 350 horsepower. At least that's what the internet forums are telling me. So I don't want to, put a slick on the back and then launch it and ruin that.
Twist them.
Yeah. So at least for this year, I think, a 200 tread wear, I won't worry about changing out tires. I can drive it to the track. It'll be pretty good grip. Just kind of explore what the car's going to do because it's an all-new car that I've never driven, and I'm not exactly sure what it's going to feel like. So this will be a good baseline, and then I can decide, okay, do I want to put a slick on it? Do I want to put wide body on it to try to get some more tire under it? And then kind of go from there. So
I had the RS3s last year. I mean, granted, I had a 7-inch wide tire, so I didn't have near as much grip as you will with yours, but it was a good tire. It ran all season with no problems, and I still have a lot of tread left. So
a lot of people run RS3s, and a lot of people race on RS3s.
So I think there's a faster tire, obviously.
Right.
Excuse me. There's a faster 200. There's one or two faster 200 treads, but they don't last nearly as long.
Yeah,
and they cost twice as much.
And they cost a lot more. And I think if you aren't planning on being at the pointy end of whatever class you're in, which you won't be.
Not next prepared, no.
No, I mean, well, locally you might be, because you might be basically the only person in that class. But, if these were nationally competitive cars, that's probably not the right tire. But if you're just a guy who wants to drive the car, enjoy the car, take it to races, maybe take it to a couple of track days, those are a good tire that you can make most of, if not all of a season with, and that's probably the right way to do it.
Right. So, hoping that it gets done by May.
And if things go well, you might be able to scratch out tire budget.
Yeah.
Thanks to good guys.
Yeah.
Because the winner of their All-American Sunday here in Des Moines every year, which is a 200 treadwear class.
Nice.
The winner of that class gets free tires.
Nice.
From, I don't remember who makes them, but they make a 200 treadwear. I know that much. So
cool.
Free set of tires.
I'm not going to turn it down, that's for sure.
Yeah, and if I would have been on 200 treadwears last year, and I don't know how much slower I may or may not have been with those, but I would have handily won that class if I'd had similar times with 200 treads on my Omni. So I really don't see why you wouldn't have a good, solid chance at pulling it off.
Yeah. All right, Adam, it's your turn.
All right, so we've talked about my blower multiple times in the past, but unfortunately, it's probably not going to happen this year. I wanted to get it going, but then I found out that my suspension is shot. The front passenger side shock, I'm pretty sure has no fluid left in it.
Well, didn't you pull it apart just the other day? Or what happened there?
I wasn't really... So, before I bought the blower, my intention this year was to buy all new suspension.
Yes.
But then that blower popped up, and I was like, oh, I'd much rather have that. My suspension will make it one more year. No big deal. Well, so I decided I wanted to find out if I could get them shock dynoed and just find out if they were good or bad. That way I could start planning on what I was going to do about them. And I also don't know if they've been revalved or not,
right.
If they're factory valves. The front has these, it's manufactured by a company called Carrera, who no longer exists. And they're actually, the coilover on the front is a Mopar Performance part. And then the coilover setup on the back is some single adjustable Coney Reds and some homemade coilover mounts and perches. and they're not adjustable. I can't raise or lower the back in any way. They just are what they are. The only thing I can do is the adjustment of the rebound compression rate on the shock. And then the fronts are not adjustable at all with that. I can only raise them up and down. So the front I can raise up and down. I can't raise the back up and down. But then the back I can change rebound and compression, but I can't do that on the front. So
not ideal.
Yeah, and so I found out there's a local shop that charges $10 a shock to shock dyno. And I was like, $40, that's worth just knowing, right? So I was going to spend the money on it, and I was going to just see where I'm at. I didn't really plan on replacing them. So I pulled them off and then found out that one is shot to the point where you can slide the shaft in and out of that shock with zero resistance. There's nothing there. And the outside of that shock was coated in grease, which I assume was the fluid at one point.
It leaked out.
Whereas the rest of them were clean. So now all of a sudden suspension has become my primary concern. And so what money I needed to finish the supercharger probably won't come at least by the beginning of the season, because that money is going to have to go into the suspension setup instead. So I've been emailing back and forth with a guy who is a BC coilover rep, and he makes adapter plates to fit SRT4 and first gen Neon for that matter, but the setup I'm buying will be SRT4 coilovers onto my Omni. There's a plate on the top that the caster camber plate bolts into, and then that bolts into the factory location on my car, and then there's a spacer that goes around the bottom of the shock and goes into the spindle, and you just zip that down together. And then in the back, my car uses a 10mm bolt, and these newer cars use a 12mm bolt, so he has a 2mm spacer that slides inside of the bottom of the shock, and then you just bolt it back into place, and off you go.
Nice.
The top of them are the same bolt pattern, the same size. There's no change to be made there. So the top is real easy. They just bolt right in. And I'm looking at buying probably the ER line of BC, which is their top of the line. It is a inverted monotube. It's 30-way adjustable, which is probably 28 more ways than I really need, frankly. But
it's two less than mine.
But
I only do one.
Yeah. Well, I was doing some research on them. There's a lot of people out there that have a lot of very good things to say about that line of coilover. They're very expensive, so I would hope they're pretty good.
Yeah.
They're not $5,000 setups, but with the adapters, I'm looking at about $2,250. So it's not cheap either.
No.
But there's a lot of people that said they're really good. They're very, they feel good. They helped the car. They made them better handling. They were also smoother than factory. And that was, people with Subarus and stuff like that saying that their ride improved on top of their handling. So I'm not going to be mad about that either, because my car was one of the worst cars you've ever ridden in.
Right. And that'd be nice too, because with mine, when you put it on track setting, it's as stiff as being completely rigid. And then if you go all the way soft, it's perfectly comfortable on highway driving.
Yeah.
Granted, you don't want to take a big bump with it, but still.
Yeah. One of the things that's cool about these is no matter how far down you go with the coilover setup, you don't lose any shock travel.
Oh, wow.
Because with the inverted monotube setup, it's a very short shock. And so even at full drop, I get the same amount of suspension travel as I would at full extension. Or at full height,
right.
which is cool. I mean, I'm not going to lower the car probably any farther than it was, because I would actually hurt the handling of it, and it's not a stance ride. But it's cool to be able to, that they can do that. That I can go farther down if I ever was able to figure out like a tubular control arm setup, so I could change my roll centers and bring the car down a little farther, which I would like to do.
Right.
So, but then I'm hoping by mid-season I'll get the blower running. I haven't abandoned it. No worries.
Yeah. And with the suspension and the baby, we don't want to admit it. We understand that your budget changes a little bit.
Yeah. So I'm having a baby, as most of you probably know.
Having a baby very soon.
Yeah.
Within 2 weeks.
A week from Monday, if he doesn't decide he needs to come earlier, which he's dropped already. Apparently, that's something.
That's a
and
thing.
I have
that
no idea
happens.
what that means.
I
but
don't
sure.
either.
Let's go with it.
But so there's a small chance that he may decide he's ready to come out earlier. And Kitty told me this morning that last night while I was sound asleep, because I don't wake up for anything, she was sitting in the living room bouncing up and down on this like yoga ball thing she has, because she just wants the baby out of her already.
This podcast is taking a weird turn.
Very.
And
not
I
what was
quote,
expecting.
I just want this thing out of me. But yeah, unfortunately, life sometimes get in the way of racing.
Well, then you I guess we kind of mentioned it, but you had plans for splitters and whatnot too.
Yeah, I want to build. I mean, this isn't super high on my list of things to do, but I would like to get the front splitter and maybe some of the under tray started going.
Nice thing is it's a relatively cheap mod. As we said, that Aluminite product is not very expensive, and you can do it whenever,
Chaz wants to order some of that Aluminite as well, and I think we might try and get a few of us to go in on it. If you buy, 4 or 5 sheets, it's cheaper per sheet, and we can all save ourselves on some shipping, because I haven't found a local place to get it. So
I'm sure it's not cheap to ship either, because it's awkward,
yeah,
It's like shipping a piece of OSB.
Right.
they have
single
different
piece of
sizes,
OSB.
but essentially it's shipping a 4 foot by 8 foot sheet of plywood
Yep.
that's about a half an inch tall,
Yeah.
and it can't flex or bend because it'll crease.
Yeah. So
They can't fold it in half.
And then I guess you're between the three of us. I think you're probably gonna have the most aggressive splitter. Like, do you have a dimension or anything in mind?
I don't yet. Whatever I think I can get away with without being like losing the ability to get into my own driveway.
Makes sense.
But I probably will continue back, like Michael was talking about. By the strictest SCCA rule, you can't go past the center line of the front axle with an under tray.
Oh, right.
But I don't really care, so I might extend that even farther back, and I might make a nearly full flat floor that folds out, or that goes out into a rear diffuser
That'd be neat.
at some point.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
It's not hugely high on my list of things to do, but I do have some ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, my exhaust dumps out right behind the driver's seat.
I forgot about that.
And so, because that's where it has to go. That's all the farther it's required to go back by SCCA law. So my exhaust is literally my 4-to-1 long tube header, it's called a turbo style muffler, and then like a 45-degree downward tip. And that's it. There's a flex pipe in the middle. That's it. I mean, the whole thing is like 3 foot long.
Wow.
Real short. Not a whole lot going on there. But I've considered the end of that being the beginning for the rear diffuser.
Yep.
Because back in the day when Formula One wasn't a bunch of, haters
Yeah.
and things, you could do cool things in Formula One. One of the things they were doing was exhaust-driven diffusers. They have the exhaust outlet of the car is at the beginning of your diffuser, and that accelerated exhaust gas will help pull the air out from underneath the car and increase the diffuser's effectiveness at low speeds, and that's now outlawed in F1. And for no other reason than that, I want it on my car, because I want to be able to say, yeah, I have outlawed Formula One tech on my car, my 1984 Dodge Omni.
I like it a lot. Like
Yeah.
more than I should probably.
It's pretty rad.
But yeah, see, because I was talking to Michael last night or the other night about my splitter, because you guys are going to Aluminite, and they make a Duraflex pre-made splitter that kind of will fit perfectly under my car. It's rounded, and it's like 65 inches wide by 18 inches long. So if I measured it out, and if you go 18 inches from the bottom of my radiator to the front, it sticks out like maybe 6 inches from the bottom of my bumper. It's almost too perfect not to do it.
I think that's about all the farther you really want to go out in front
Agreed.
of it.
So I'm probably going to go that route, even though the Aluminite would probably be a little cheaper and easier. Well, not easier, but it'd be, convenient to just order it all with you guys. But
yeah.
I don't have a lot of overhang on my car like you do, because you
Right.
have more of a nose than I do.
yes,
And so without so much overhang from the front, I can probably get away with a little bit longer front splitter, because my wheels will start to bring my car up sooner.
mm-hmm.
These are things I learned when I had a body kit on,
Yes.
on my
Yes.
Cavalier. So I think I could probably get away with more of a splitter than the rest of us.
I would think so.
Yeah, I'm sure that somebody makes an RX-7 splitter, but I don't know. Because of where that engine sits and what I'm trying to accomplish, I'm going to have to make something myself. So
Yeah.
because it's got to go back a lot farther than 18 inches, like Robbie said. It's got to go back basically to the front of the engine, which is where the front cross member is. So
Longacre Racing Products makes some adjustable supports that I was going to buy.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking
either
about
3
too.
or 4 of. I haven't decided how many my car needs yet. That I'll probably use to go, from halfway up the bumper down to the splitter itself, and
because
tie
race
that
car,
all in.
it's a very race car
for
looking.
Sure.
So
well,
sweet.
and you need to stiffen that all up. The
Yeah,
more
you
it
do.
moves, the less effective it becomes. So
Yeah, definitely. All right.
Is that it? That all we got for this season? Off season, rather.
yeah, I don't think I got a whole lot else. Move my battery.
Yeah.
That wasn't really all that
No,
exciting.
not a big deal.
Michael and his dad were kind enough to give me a Moroso sealed battery box to go in my car.
It was really a gift for your child,
I'm good with that. Whatever.
so he's not rolling around in the back of the Omni with all the potential noxious fumes.
Half-a-year-old. That's a
Um,
really loud car to put a baby in.
He'll be all right.
Nah, she'll-
Put some
he'll be
headphones
fine.
on him.
Headphones.
Yeah, that's what I keep telling her.
Earmuffs.
Nah, he'll be fine. It's a 4-door. It's a family cruiser.
It's a family car.
My grandparents used to have one of those, and it was like a family car.
It's essentially the
Sure.
perfect family car because you can baby with it,
Yeah, it's small.
and you can take it to the
it's
racetrack.
fast-ish.
It could be economical.
It used to get really good gas
It doesn't
mileage.
anymore.
Dual Webers turns out not the greatest idea for gas mileage. I think that car averages like mid-teens. It's pretty bad.
Details. Not important.
All right. Well, we're at an hour. We've been trucking along here.
Yeah,
We were going to talk about events.
I think we should go real quick through them.
Let's
Yeah,
go through
I'd
some
say
events.
There's just a
real 5
couple of
minutes
events
talking.
I think would be kind of fun to talk about.
We
And
hit on. Let's talk about Good Guys because we hit on that already. So Good Guys is July 4th weekend, and I think July 4th is a Monday this
July
time
4th
around.
is a Monday this year, but I checked the schedule, and it is Friday, Saturday, Sunday, as always.
So if you have a car that's 1972 or older, you can get in to Good Guys.
Monday through Sunday.
Friday through Sunday.
Or Friday through
Sunday.
Friday through Sunday, sorry.
It's usually like $65 or $70, but you get 2 tickets for the whole weekend, so that pays for that, and you get kids passes if you got kids.
Yeah.
But if you have something that is American powered,
American built or American powered.
so I can bring the RX-7, and obviously
Because it has a V8 in it, a GM built V8.
and obviously Adam can bring the Omni, even though it's an 84.
Because despite the fact that Michael wants to tell me it's Italian, it's not.
It's Italian now. It wasn't when it was new, but that's not the point.
And I am left out
That's
with
only
the,
on Sunday.
I can sit with the spectators.
Robbie can come hang out.
Yeah.
The thing is,
Robbie's
though,
going to come.
yeah,
up
we're gonna have like 6 cars registered there, so we're gonna have tons of free tickets.
Yeah, my parents always register a car.
Oh, nice.
His family registers 2 cars.
we'll have
I'll
3
have
cars
a car
this year.
register.
Nice.
So if you want to do All American Sunday, it's like $30 or something like that, and I think you get the same deal. Obviously, you only get 2 passes for that one day, but
Yeah, it's the same deal.
yeah. So it's definitely cool. That's something we're looking forward to. They do an autocross. It's a little bit different than SCCA. The whole thing's marked out. It's different than our SCCA region, I should say. The whole course is marked out with chalk or paint or something.
I
They use
really
a lot
like that.
more. They use a lot more cones than most SCCA guys uses.
Yeah, it's very
quite
it's very
well laid
easy to
out.
navigate, I guess.
Yeah, well, you don't get a chance to walk it at all.
But you can just run and run and run and run and run.
Yeah,
now.
you can run and run and run, and the autocross is covered in your entry fee for
Yep.
everybody.
Yep.
So you don't like a lot of people will show up. They'll pay for the entry fee. They'll come in. They'll park their car. They'll walk around. They'll come up across the autocross and they'll go, "Oh, this looks like fun," and they'll run their car. And it's, I mean, there's been.
Dreadful slow.
Yeah, there's been 1-ton Ford pickups like
It's
trucks
hilarious.
on there. There's been people in their 55 Chevy Nomads on there. Just
It's probably one of the few places you can go and watch somebody roll coal during an autocross. It's hilarious.
it's quite a deal.
It's fun. It's good stuff. You're looking at the calendar,
I got the
Robbie.
calendar in front of me.
What's the NQS dates?
Oh,
Do you have
I
those?
don't have them all. I can't
First
just, like,
one's
look them up.
May 21st, I think.
I have a screenshot of their.
Yeah, you probably do that.
So NQS is a Mustang modification company.
It's May 21
They're a
is their
shop.
first one.
They're a shop. They're not associated with the Mustang Club of Iowa, but
They're all members of it.
they rent the Marshalltown go-kart track 4 times a year. They're about the only organization that does it anymore.
Yeah,
The Porsche Club gets it, but they only get it once a year.
Yeah. So they do that. They'll do
We
that.
always look forward to that one. It's just fun.
It's May, June, July, August. It's a good place
There's
to see
no-
if you've made improvements on your car.
There's no course working, so you just get to hang out with your buddies the whole day. You're not on the track, then in the staging lanes, and on the track, then in the staging lanes like an autocross. It's the only track that we get a race on locally that doesn't change, so you can use it as a benchmark,
Yeah. Yep.
and that's nice.
Yep.
The dates are May 21st, June 25th, July 23rd, and August 13th.
And I would suggest on that one as well, if you've never done an autocross but you want to get into it, that's the first one that I ever did, and you don't have to worry about navigating cones. You just have to stay on the pavement. So
Yep. Same here. That was the easiest way to get into it and
It's
really
a
understand
good
what you're
place to
doing.
go and kind of get a feel for driving your car at the way we do.
Yep.
Because even though you're only doing 45, 50 miles an hour, stuff comes at you a lot faster than you think it will.
yeah,
Yep.
it's a lot of fun. It's
Yep.
honestly a fun little track. It's got some elevation changes. It's got some real tight corners. It's a good time.
All right, I'm going to list off a handful that I got kind of starred on my calendar. A lot of them are kind of wish list things, like the big events. I do want to go to the Indy 500. It's the 100th running of it. It'd be really cool to spend the weekend there, maybe write an article, do something about the podcast. Obviously, that's kind of wishful thinking. Same with the Iowa Corn 300. I'd like to do the behind-the-scenes pass,
That's
stuff like
here,
that.
like,
That's at the
yeah.
Iowa Speedway.
30 minutes down the road.
And then in October, the only American Formula One race is in Austin, Texas, and that's kind of my dream vacation this year.
What's the date on that?
It is October, I want to say in the 20s. Hold on. I'm not. 23rd, October 23rd is that the race was on Sunday.
And I think they only run that every 2 years.
Nope, every year.
It is every
It
year?
was there here last year,
I
too.
thought they swapped that out with the Canadian Grand Prix.
It was there last year.
Oh.
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
And then, I guess some notes or some fun things that we're doing this year. We have a supercar autocross that we purchased in May. I'm still on the
yeah.
I am still on the fence on how cool or lame this will be.
I
'Cause
forgot all about that.
if they're
We're gonna
all
drive supercars.
Yeah, if they're all like dialed down and like safetied out, and we can only casually drive them around the parking lot, I'm gonna flip a table.
I watched some of the videos, and they seem to let you get as hard and fast as you want to go.
Well, then, good. I'm looking forward to that even more now.
I don't know that they're going to let us shut off the traction control and
Yeah,
No,
just
I'm
hooning
sure
them out.
not.
lay rubber down and drive with the tail end out and opposite locking the whole time. But
We'll see how it goes. Obviously, I'm excited for basically every autocross. I'm not going to list every single one off because that's
I
pointless.
think some of the highlights we got Iowa region races at Hawkeye Downs and Cedar Rapids every year. That's a really cool one because there's a mild bank to it, which is pretty sweet.
And I still have not raced on it.
It's
and
on
I meant
a
to.
track, but they've added some cones to try to slow it down a little bit
It's a paved oval. They race there a lot
with an internal track
so
on
it's
it.
got like a small area in the middle, and it's a lot of fun. I think I haven't
Yeah.
been able to get there yet either,
Okay.
but it's one of the big ones. I think everybody likes to go to.
The only bummer about that event is that if it rains, they got to shut it down.
Yep. That's
Yeah.
why we missed it last year.
I don't really care. I don't. So I run a full slick. So if it rains, I pretty much don't race anyway. So that doesn't really bother me.
Yep. And then the last two, the two shows I'm looking forward to. I still to this day I enjoy Hot Import Nights, so I'm going to try to make it to Chicago or Minneapolis or both.
That's the ricer bleeding through.
Doesn't matter. Still love it. And then the be all end all of things I'm excited about this year is the Grid Life racing event at South Haven, Michigan. It is going to be hands down the best.
Grid Life looks sick.
best-
as
It's
hell.
going to be
best weekend
so
we're
sweet.
going.
There's drifting. There's time attack. They're talking
There's a
about
car
potentially
show,
having
everything.
the biggest time attack grid in North American history.
It's
I was told that there is going to be everything from old, slow Volkswagens to tube chassis, purpose-built Pikes Peak cars.
and they do the whole kind of point of Grid Life is that it's a music event as well. So
Yeah,
it's kind of
there's
like a
some
music
concerts.
festival at a racetrack with racing. It's crazy.
So
Yeah.
you got a lot of stuff going on for 3 straight days.
It's going to be a hell
It's
of a
going to be
deal.
sweet. We're really looking forward to that.
Proving Grounds does it, or
That's the following
Map
week.
Performance does something in Brainerd called Proving Grounds. It's very similar. So there's a lot of cool stuff that's
Yeah,
happening.
this will
year.
be a very fun year when it comes to
It's going to be a
autocross
great
racing.
year. It's going to be a great year.
It's going to be a long year.
Yeah,
Worth it.
it'd be good.
I'm pretty excited about it.
Should we move on to the news?
Let's talk about some
Let's
news.
talk about the news and how screwed I am.
I think this was a pretty slow week of news, but
We got some okay stuff.
Whatever.
Nothing that's
Adam
gonna-
was not at all impressed by the Geneva Auto Show, apparently.
Yeah.
Well, so
Mostly because it's all unobtainable cars.
that's my big thing about
That's
it.
not
is there's
true.
cars that I'm never going to touch.
There's one car there that I'm going to have to buy.
The Fiat 124.
I have to get a 124 Abarth, yeah. And I don't care if that's how you say it or not. I say it
the Fiat
Abarth.
Abarth 124 Spider is the best Miata you can buy.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that I was a little disappointed in it because it's only a 10 horsepower bump, and that's kind of a slap to the face.
We were hoping that it was going to get the Alfa Romeo 1.7 liter turbo from the 4C, but that may have been a lot to ask in retrospect.
Yeah,
And that's a
I
lot.
understand that, but even
You're talking about an engine that comes in a $65,000 car in effectively a Miata. That's a lot to ask.
It is.
it was a lot. That doesn't mean we can't do it.
No.
Swap kits galore.
What's the cost of a new Miata? Are they in the 20s? I know. I realize
Literally
I'm
have
asking
never looked.
people that never looked, but
It's like 22,000, let's
Okay.
say. You
Well-
can spend over $30,000 on a Miata.
right.
Let's
Well,
say it
then
that way.
I think the new Miata is very similar to the thing we described with the Porsches last week, where the base model Miata is not the one that anyone's going to want, and you have to buy. You
4,000.
thank you.
you have to
24,000.
buy the limited slip. You have to buy the better brakes. You have to buy the better suspension. And next thing you know, you've got $30,000 wrapped up in a Miata.
See, so here's the thing. So because I was trying to figure out what this car is going to cost me when it comes out in a year and a half or whatever, I did go to Mazda's website and I did price a Miata with. You can get the same suspension setup and the LSD for the Miata, obviously not turbocharged. And if you do that, and otherwise it's a base model, it's not the base model, but you don't have any other options on it. Let's say it's about $28,000,
So how much power does the Miata currently make?
155 horsepower.
So we're looking at like 30 horse more.
You're looking at
40?
170, but you're
No,
looking
because
at
the
100
American version's dialed down because of emissions and shit. It's only like 160.
No, that's
Yeah,
not,
it is.
That's not
It's
true.
on this page right here.
It's not true.
I don't think he's right.
I don't think he's right either.
Actually,
So-
if anything, I thought that they would.
The result is a 170 horsepower rear-wheel drive, and then one should make around 160 horsepower because of weird American regulations, but will retain the improved suspension, brakes, exhaust, and maybe even the wacky body panels.
So 10 horse over a Miata.
Yeah, but the stock
I'm not saying
124
that-
makes 160 though.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know what that source
And
is.
then
but-
this source also says that it costs 40,000 pounds, which is in American dollars today $57,000.
What are you reading off of? Did you find the most random source on the internet
No,
for
I
this
just found this
information?
because this
These
article.
backwatered things. And I don't
Yeah, I don't think that any of that information is true. But
Well, then
anyway,
you tell me what it costs.
moving on.
You're
I don't-
bringing him down, Rob.
I don't know what it's going to cost.
Way overpriced.
I don't know what it's going to cost. It's probably. I'm going to guess it's going to cost. If you want one without any options, it's going to be $32,000. That's my guess.
It makes more sense.
But
than
how many
what I
options?
just saw.
That's the Abarth?
That's the Abarth.
30 grand
with
for
the
an
Abarth
Abarth.
package. Yep.
See, I feel like that can't be. Because I would think that the 124 should start pretty close to that.
No.
Because it's going to be more expensive than a Miata.
Yeah, but you can get a Miata for 24 base. I think you're going to pay $2, $3, $4 grand for the 124 over the Miata. So we're at 28.
I would think
Then you're
that
gonna pay another
Mazda
$4
would
grand.
want them to cost more than that, or else they aren't going to sell any Miatas. Except for brand loyalists.
Maybe. I don't know. But $24,000 versus $32,000 is a huge price difference.
I guess. I don't know. We'll see.
We shall see. We
This
don't
is all
know.
speculation.
Because the prices aren't out on these yet.
No, it says to be determined, and then the article said that they were claiming 40,000 pounds.
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
So I don't know.
That's the other thing. You can't. Autoblog does this all the time, and it pisses me off. You cannot take somebody else's currency and what it costs and convert it into U.S. dollars and have that be the price of the car. I see that all the time.
Yep.
It doesn't work
never
that way.
works that way. So please, automotive journalists, stop doing that.
Right.
It is so
I would have a
obnoxious.
very hard time believing that was a $56,000 car.
Yeah.
There's just no way.
Because why wouldn't you
It won't
spend
sell
another?
any of those.
Why wouldn't you spend another $8,000 and get a 4C?
For sure.
Exactly.
There's so many better cars in the $60,000 or $55,000 range.
Yep.
You
So
can
we'll
have
see.
a Corvette
I-
for
yeah, I'm not-
$55,000. I think.
Yeah,
Not
base
making sense
model
to me.
Corvette.
Just get that. I don't know.
all
We'll-
day.
We'll see. There was a rumor that it potentially could make a few more horsepower here in the U.S.
That was what I read too.
and it could potentially be right around $30,000, and it may be a car that I have to buy, just for the sake.
There's
of
a
having
lot
it.
of cars that you have to buy. Let's list this out real quick. We've got the Abarth.
Yep.
You need to buy this Buick,
Yeah. I don't even know what it's called anymore, but the
the Avista.
the Avista, the GNX
It's a GNX.
It's a GNX. The
It's a
Buick
GNX.
GNX, the new one. Yep.
Yeah, and then you also need to buy a Julia.
Yeah, I need a Julia. Yep, I do.
And we're looking at $150,000 worth of cars there.
This podcast better take off then.
Yeah, we
'cause
better get a lot of
very
sponsors
expensive
here.
lifestyle. It's not my fault. Or if FCA would like to sponsor us and get us a Hellcat and a Julia
I'm just saying, if
and a
anybody
Barth,
if
that's all I'm
anybody
saying.
listens to us talk about the 4C in the Chicago Auto Show episode, they would want to buy a 4C as well. So someone should be paying us for such great advertising.
Sergio, give me a call. We'll get it figured out.
Yeah.
What else we got?
Koenigsegg?
They're making a sedan. They're potentially making a sedan.
really?
I heard there's potentially making a sedan.
Which would be cool. When they make it, changing my rich guy daily. Just
Yeah,
saying.
your $1 million
You almost
sedan.
can't. You almost can't not have it.
Right.
Yeah, I
For
have
your
to
rich
own
guy
that.
daily.
Yeah.
Because it's so ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's going to be
I don't know
crazy.
what it is, but it's going to be the best four-door car on the planet.
I think they're still a ways away from it coming out. I don't know. When I read the article that said that potentially maybe they were going to make it, it was very vague. So
Yeah. Well,
we haven't seen any pictures
they're
or
also
anything like
talking
that.
about
But
Bugatti's sedan that they've been teasing us with for years, and I don't really care about.
yeah, no one really cares about Bugatti. But
Super rich rappers care about Bugatti. That's about it.
the car they came out with at the Geneva show was the Regera, and that's
That really
going to
doesn't come out. That was more of the production ready come out, but they debuted that car last year.
Oh, really?
yeah, it's going to be $2 million, and Christian von Koenigsegg thinks it's their practical luxury hypercar or mega car, whatever you want to call it.
A practical.
Practical.
Let's throw the word-
1,000
let's just
horsepower.
throw the
And by
word
practical, he
around.
means it goes from 0 to 250 miles an hour in 20 seconds.
Yeah, that's practicality
Out of
at its
control.
finest.
Out of control.
Yeah, that's kind of the
See,
be-all,
what
end-all
he's
of
saying
luxury
is
supercars.
that it's practical in the sense that you'll never be late for work.
You know, that is a good point. If you're running late for work and you have to if you're a multi-billionaire and you're running late for work and you have to decide, am I going to take the Ferrari FF today or the Lamborghini, or no, I'm going to take the Koenigsegg because I have to do 250
You've
miles
made
an hour.
your billions, and then the government has come in and realized that however it was that you made them is probably illegal, and so now you're being, you've got.
You have to
gotta
flee
go
the country.
You've got to go to court and defend your way of life, and you don't want to be late for that because that looks bad.
I think what you're doing is fleeing the country because no one's going to catch
Well,
you.
you can do that too.
I would flee the country.
Either way, you're going to be the fastest guy
Yeah.
doing it.
Yep. Absolutely.
And that's got that crazy single gear, whatever, transmission.
Torque converter thing.
Yeah, it's so confusing and
I don't get
weird
it,
to me.
and I don't know that we should even talk too much about it because it's very confusing.
So in the simplest form, all it is there's electric motors, and they work below 30 miles an hour, and then there's a hydraulic coupling between the engine and the differential, and basically there's no gears. So as you know in a car, as you're speeding up, you have to change gears, right? So because you don't have any gears, you've got this viscous coupling in the middle, and as you start to speed up using the electric motors, that all of a sudden locks up, and the engine is directly driving the rear differential.
Right, and then it's like gear ratio is like, what, 2.7 to 1 or something crazy?
Yeah, yep. So basically, at very low speeds, you're just using the electric motors, even though the engine is running.
So it's eco-friendly.
Well, the engine's running, though. The engine's just sitting there running
Yeah,
for
but when it
almost no
idles, it
reason.
doesn't use that much.
That's true.
It'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure gas mileage is their concern.
But anyway, go
I'm just
online.
here to save the planet.
It gets like 10 miles to the gallon.
Stop it, Robbie.
We should post there's a video of Christian von Koenigsegg explaining it. He can explain
There's
it
a
better.
video of him accelerating in it, and that's literally all it does.
Maddening. It's just...
It's like
It
it's
doesn't-
like the Hayabusa of
It
cars.
doesn't hesitate. It doesn't think about what it's going to do. It just does it.
Yeah, it's insane.
And it pulls all the way to the end.
And that's the whole point. And the other cool thing about it is, I don't know if you read this or not, but it actually makes over 1,800 horsepower.
Yeah.
But because of the way that he's got it set up, and that's between 3 electric motors and the one gas-powered motor.
Yeah.
And because at one given time, at its max horsepower output, it's only 1,500. But if you were to take the collective potential horsepower of all of the motors, it would be 1,800.
Oh, God.
It's just crazy.
It's crazy.
Man.
So
It's-
good.
It's so cool.
So
And
good.
It looks gorgeous. So when I saw the pictures of it, I wasn't really sure, but I watched the videos that Koenigsegg posted. It's gorgeous. The interior is
it's
gorgeous.
a good-looking car.
Car's gorgeous. It's not overstyled.
They've never done anything wrong in my book.
I'm definitely changing my hypercar to that because it's so much better. The Pagani is awesome, but sometimes it's too much.
Yes.
That is perfect.
Christian von Koenigsegg, if you want to do podcast things, let us know.
Yeah, for sure. He is maybe the most brilliant person alive right
He
now.
has the greatest name ever.
Christian von Koenigsegg.
He should be
He sounds like a Bond villain.
If this was a movie, he'd be the bad guy for
Definitely.
sure.
And he's got the shaved head. I'm sure he's got cats. I bet he just sits in his
just
office chair
cat.
just petting a cat.
Him and I can bond on our cats.
I bet
great.
he does. I bet he does. He could tell you about his camless engine that for some reason is never coming out.
Yeah. I'm
Check
all about
that out.
everything
If
he
you don't know
does.
about that, look up, camless Koenigsegg Saab thing.
The one thing I don't understand is why they have this like car show, open the hood, open the trunk, or the whatever you want to call the bed, and then open the doors, and then just kind of Transformers thing it does. You push a button.
Car show mode?
It's so stupid.
Dude, it's a Riker thing. You should love it.
I hate it.
Use it all the time. Use it all the time.
Why
all
would
of
you
it's
open all
electric.
those things at once?
Well, no, it's just that on the dash, the Apple CarPlay thing, it's got an arrangement of buttons that you can open either door or the
No, they have
hood
a
of the trunk.
they have a car show mode where you push the button and it opens everything that can be opened on the car simultaneously.
It's
It's a little gimmicky.
It's pretty cool.
It's a little
extremely
gimmicky for a guy that
Those doors
doesn't
are
do gimmicky
freaking
things.
awesome.
They are. I'm
I
not
know.
gonna.
Have you seen them work?
Yeah.
They move out like 10 inches. It's
Yeah, and
crazy.
then they rotate
Oh, they're
90
so
degrees.
beautiful. And
So cool.
have you seen somebody get in it?
No.
Yeah.
Oh, watch it. We
You
need
got
to
to
post
step in. You
we need to post the
get
video.
In it. You crawl.
You
into
step
it. You got to
through it,
step
yeah.
over this 10-inch wide door sill that's
Carbon
made out
tub,
of
yeah.
carbon Kevlar
Yep.
Oh, yeah, you have
space age material.
We have to post a video because you have to see that door actuate out. When you're sitting in the car, it actuates out and then rotates up. It's crazy. It's fucking. It looks fake, but it's crazy.
It's so cool. They do so many good things.
So much better than Tesla.
Agreed.
Word.
Moving on.
What else we got?
We have the Spiker supercar. They came back.
We didn't really. They were never really gone. The coverage on Spiker this week was awful.
Right.
I don't know what the deal.
They just had a 2-year absence at Geneva.
Yeah. So it's it's a newly restyled car. It's kind of got the same engine. I think the only reason that we're talking about it is because we think it's cool.
I
think their shifter mechanism is cool.
Which, by the way, it's not an exposed transmission because that was flying around the internet.
Yeah, no,
This was-
it's an exposed linkage.
Yeah, so it's cool. Don't get me wrong.
It
but
looks really, really cool.
Let's call it what it is.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's very not modern. It's a vintage aeroplane style.
It's almost like Art Deco. It's
Yes.
You know
kinda
what the
30s.
worst
Yeah.
thing about Spiker is that Paris Hilton used to have one.
Did she really?
Gross.
Yeah.
Man, that sucks. That kind of ruins it.
Right.
Yeah.
It's
No.
too damn cool for Paris Hilton.
That's
When
what I
I-
think.
When I first saw it, like they had the
The
matte-
renderings are not good.
the weird green, and then like the Italian brown interior, and I hate the rims. And I was like, I hate this car.
He wants
And-
RPF 01s on it.
Well, I do.
on everything.
I do.
T37.
Well, then-
something
On
like
his Regera.
Well, then I would don't call
no,
me
because
out.
those are made out of carbon
Yeah,
fiber.
you want
and he wants those.
You want those carbon fiber
That's true.
wheels.
Carbon fiber, anything. But so I looked into this more. If I would change the color, the rims, and the interior color to black, it went from being like, I hate this car to, okay, this might be my new favorite car. Because I think that interior is one of the best looking interiors
It's
ever.
stunning.
So gorgeous.
Everything's
And there's
handmade.
no carbon fiber on the inside. It's all like brushed aluminum and stuff.
I love
which is really
that.
saying something for me.
I
'Cause
love
if it's,
brushed aluminum,
It's carbon
though.
fiber or nothing for me, typically.
That was one of my favorite things about my TT was all the brushed aluminum
Yes.
inside of it.
No, I love all the little airplane style.
It is
mesh
very airplane
and-
style.
Do you
Gauges.
see the shifter linkage?
Yeah, it's super
Is that
neat.
not the coolest
It's super
thing?
neat.
Like that should make your engineering geek just explode.
It does. And at the same time, if I had
It's rad.
$400,000 for a car, I wouldn't buy it.
No, because he's too Dutch.
Which is funny because it's a Dutch supercar.
Yeah,
See, I think they're Dutch, aren't they?
But I think the whole Spiker concept's a very interesting one because the point of it is that, okay, so all these people buy supercars, right, because they're rich and they want to show off that they're rich. None of them drive them that hard. I mean, really, and they probably shouldn't for that
They're
matter.
people like Paris Hilton.
Right.
That's who owns Spikers. People like her.
Yeah, but she's got no class. I imagine a guy. I
You
imagine
should love her
I
then.
was just
She's
gonna
so
say that.
trashy.
Yeah, she's too trashy though. But I imagine somebody that buys a Spiker, I imagine them like wearing a smoking jacket all the time and like just constantly smoking cigars and having like an ascot. Like that's who I imagine drive
they
it.
have
It's
a
probably not at the track.
terrible accent and stuff.
They
like
have a
that?
terrible accent. And maybe instead of smoking cigars, they smoke those really thin cigarettes.
That's what I would have picked.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what it is. Yep.
Definitely.
All right.
They talk in a condescending tone constantly.
Yeah, I imagine that's.
Hey, carry my baggage.
Yep.
They talk down. They don't know how to talk up.
No.
All right, so Sergio Marconi is my favorite auto executive.
Without a doubt.
Sorry, Bob
He's
Lutz.
the guy that runs Fiat. This is
Sorry,
a big,
Bob Lutz.
This is a pretty big deal for Michael to say that because he's had a man crush on Bob
I love
Lutz
Bob
for a
Lutz.
long time.
He just puts more and more and more horsepower in things to make them better.
This could be better if it had an LS in it.
Yeah, that's what he went around. He doesn't do that anymore, though. Now he puts
Viper motors.
He puts
in
Viper
things.
motors in things. He puts electric motors in trucks, which is confusing.
You know what's better than a V8? 2 more cylinders.
Or 4 more cylinders.
Let's start with 2.
Lame.
So
Default to
Sergio
life.
Marconi this week, he said his favorite thing to say to the press. He says it all the time. You'll have to shoot him before they make an autonomous Ferrari.
I'm good with that.
And I'd like to applaud him on his decision.
Yep. He also said it about electric cars.
But they don't make any sense in that market. I'm good with it.
Yeah, his whole point was, he said something like, I drove a Model S and it was weird because it was so quiet, and I don't really see the point because Ferrari makes V12 and V8 shouty engines, and that's what they do. Yeah, that's the whole point of a Ferrari. So I totally understand where he's coming from.
I'll bet we would get along with him real well.
Yeah, because
Hey, Sergio, if you want to do podcast things,
he's
let us
crazy.
know.
He's crazy. He just goes off the chain when he talks to the press.
Yep, I love it.
Do you see that?
Has on more than one occasion created massive PR nightmares
Yeah.
for himself, hasn't he?
But
I love it.
He's
I love it.
He's the head
It's
of
great.
Ferrari and the head of Fiat. He must be doing something right.
Yeah, no, I'm
Just mixing shit up. Did you see that they lose money on every single Fiat 500e they make?
I thought that was also true about the Enzos.
That probably is true, but the Fiat 500e is like a normal person,
yeah,
you know.
it's a small commuter car.
Oh, is it? I
You're
guess
not
I don't know
supposed to
anything
lose
about that
money
one.
on those things.
Yeah.
You know what a Fiat 500 is, right?
Yeah.
It's the
That's
electric
the
version.
electric one.
Well, they should lose money on that anyways. It's stupid.
They lose $14,000 on
He
each
hates that
one.
car.
God.
He has made no secret that he does not want to build that.
But you know why they have to make it?
Emissions.
Emission.
Because of California.
Cafe
It's
standard.
California's fault. Because California is saying that basically, I think it was by like 2025 or whatever, but a certain percentage of your fleet has to be zero emission.
Or you can't sell cars in that state.
Correct.
Could you drive them in that state? Like, say I buy
Why,
a
so
Ferrari
you-
in Iowa and I drive to
Yeah,
California.
you probably couldn't register in that state. So if you live in California, you could go buy a Ferrari in Nevada, but how are you going to register it?
Buy a
Shouldn't that
house.
fall under Fiat?
What do you mean?
Well, Ferrari's overarching umbrella company is
Yeah.
Fiat.
Yeah.
So as long as Fiat makes the 500, I should still be able to buy a Ferrari.
Right, but his point is he doesn't want to have to make any electric vehicles
Yeah.
that he's going to lose money on.
I don't
mean,
think
he's
that's-
not in the
he's not
business of
wrong.
losing money.
I don't think it's an option.
Well, no, it probably is. Well, definitely not in California, obviously.
Yep.
I think long term, that's probably not an option, period.
No, it's going to keep getting worse and worse. You know, you're going to have higher, just purely, you know, cafe or whatever emission standards are going to get more and more and more strict. So you're going to need to have a fleet average, and the best way to improve your fleet average is to have a zero emissions vehicle.
I think everyone should have a Civic or a CRX HF that gets 50 miles to the
I
gallon.
think everybody should make an electric scooter that they don't sell any of.
That are like the
like Aston Martin did with the Signet.
Yeah, Signet.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
I would drive a Signet so fast. I think they're awesome.
You couldn't get me to drive it.
It's my favorite
I
Aston
would drive
Martin.
it,
I'm
yep.
going out on a limb here, and I'm saying
I
this.
wouldn't say
it's my
that.
favorite Aston Martin.
I wouldn't. I would never say
let's
that.
tell the history to the podcasters that don't know. Didn't they? I guess,
They're
correct me on it.
Toyota Scion, whatever you want to call
Yep.
them, IQs.
Yes, and they
that
just
have been
rebadged them.
rebadged and restyled and labeled the Aston Martin Signet.
And they put some quilted leather in it and some throw pillows, I
And
think.
it has like the Aston Martin grill. on
yep.
it.
They
It
put
looks
the grill.
awesome.
It looks so stupid.
so good.
I love the IQ. I think it's cool.
I
Like,
would love an IQ.
The IQ, I think, is a cool
But
little
see,
car.
if I bought an IQ, then I'd have to go on eBay and buy some $500 Aston Martin body.
Don't change
kit.
the front end at all. Don't change the wheels. Just change the badge.
No, I'd buy the body kit. I guarantee you, there's someone that makes a
Oh
body
yeah,
kit,
yeah. Somebody makes a body kit with a grill. I'm sure.
and I'll take it, please.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
It feels too poserish for me.
I would
couldn't do
build
it.
like a street prepared solo car.
Oh my god, a solo IQ would be hilarious.
Right?
It would be the best.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, if somebody has one, please let us know because that would be so cool.
Yeah, I'd love it. That short wheelbase, it's got to work well, right?
It's got to work.
It's like driving a go-kart.
Although apparently other people aren't as passionate about the IQ as we are.
I'll swap something into it and turn it into a street mod car, and it'll be the best thing in the world.
Because you know what happened to me at the 2014 Chicago Auto Show, right?
No.
Does Robbie know about this?
No.
Scott and I found the IQ, and we thought it was hilarious because we'd never seen it. We were like, this is so sweet. Look at it. We're like hopping. We think it's cool. We're messing with stuff in it. This girl walks up to me. She was our age, and she goes, "What are you guys, a bunch of faggots?" I was like, whoa, wait a minute.
When we bought Katie's Focus, they had an orange one in the showroom, and I was like, "Why are
didn't
we
you
even?"
get that?
Yeah,
It's so sweet.
too much money.
Yeah, I was going to say they want a lot for them.
It's the world's smallest 4-seater.
Yeah, it's sweet.
It's a 4-seater?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
got a back seat.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
It's a sweet car, man. I wish there
So
were more of them
you're
around.
telling me there's a car with a smaller back seat than your stupid TT?
Oh no, dude! Supposedly they're useful. They like
Yeah, dude, the gas tank is like flat. It runs underneath the car.
yeah.
Whoa.
So they can slide the seat back real far.
And so you have some form of a trunk, and it's a hatch. It's
Do
sweet,
you have to be
dude.
3 feet tall to sit in there?
no, dude,
It's
I
better than the TT.
Oh,
when
for
it comes
sure.
To, oh my gosh.
I can't believe we're geeking out about an IQ. It's so cool,
It's
though.
so ridiculous.
That's kind of like you and I in the A45 AMG.
Yeah, nobody else seems to like
Nobody
the A.
likes it, but Michael and I.
I think they're sweet.
Which one?
You'd hate it for sure.
I'm sure. Let's find out. What car?
A45
AMG.
I think you liked the other.
Sounds expensive.
I like the car that everybody seems to hate, which is the cheap
This
the
thing?
cheap Mercedes.
Yeah, that.
Why would I hate that? It looks like a RAV4 in a Civic.
And isn't it like 345 horsepower out
Yeah,
of
it
a
makes,
2
it
liter?
makes stupid power.
You do realize I would rock this all day long.
Yeah, it's so awesome.
It's like
So
a
they have-
smaller version of
They
my
have
Rogue.
they have an aero package for the AMG.
It looks ridiculous.
And it is out of control, insane. I want it so bad.
No, I'm on board. I like this car.
Awesome.
What's the
Eat it, Scott.
little cheap Mercedes?
I thought that was the A series.
No, I mean the sedan. There's a cheap sedan now.
I don't know my Mercedes very
I
well.
don't know.
I want to call it it's obviously not the SLS. It's like the CLS, the big CLS, but it's kind of like the smaller version of that, and you can get it for $30,000.
Like little 2-door?
No, it's a 4-door. It's a little mini sedan coupe thing.
Actually, there's a bunch of them. It's like, isn't it CLS?
No, CLS is the big one, I thought.
I have no
There's
idea.
a few
We're
of
not
them
gonna
running
get
around Ames. Yeah, we're not going to get there. We'll come back to that.
That's the AMG version that I like. I like everybody hates that car though. Like Mercedes was the one that came out with, hey, it's a sedan, but it's a coupe because it doesn't have any pillars.
Yeah.
Everybody thought that was stupid, so they make the smaller version now that's $30,000 base. And I really like the car, and I especially like it in the AMG setup because it's got that ridiculous motor.
345 horsepower.
And everybody seems to hate it. I don't know why. I
I'll
think
go
it's
on a
sweet.
limb and say
Bunch of haters.
there is not a single Mercedes out there that I don't like.
That's not true. I can't stand the G.
Which one's that?
The G-Wagon?
The G-Wagon's pretty ostentatious.
I don't like the G-Wagons.
It's pretty ridiculous.
I would never own
I
it.
don't
but
want
like
anything
it.
to do with that.
So expensive.
Yeah.
Like the cheapest one is $120,000.
Yeah, they're crazy.
For effectively a Jeep
I don't hate it.
with some leather in it. It's out of control.
I like their 6-wheelers.
No.
Nah.
I love their 6-wheelers.
You and Dan Bilzerian.
That's fine.
Yeah,
We
you could
could-
only own that in Dubai. That's the only place you could own it.
Nah,
Yeah.
he has one in California.
I just mean that people would throw eggs at you all the time
Yeah.
because you look like a
Especially in
douche.
California.
Yeah.
I don't care.
You look like such a douche in that thing.
You gotta,
I
get,
would-
you gotta
I would-
get it with a diesel.
I
and
would,
make
yeah,
it roll
I
coal.
would jack it up a little bit, make it off-road
Jack it
a
up.
little
It's
more.
huge. Have you seen one?
You
Yeah,
gotta
it's
make it
wonderful.
ridiculous.
Actually, it is jacked up before
Yeah,
you
I
even
think
get
it's
it. I don't have
massive.
to jack it up.
jacked up.
You
So
could put
big.
like, oh man, you know what you should do? Put Jurassic Park emblems on it.
No.
God. This is taking a bad turn.
I love it.
Robbie
I
has
think they
a
already did that though. Let me look.
weird fascination with dinosaurs,
I've
by
been
the
trying
way.
to get Robbie.
That's not true.
I've been
It's
trying to
Jurassic
get
Park,
Robbie
not
to
just dinosaurs.
Jurassic Park livery as Rogue.
You should do it on the 240 as
Get a
well.
push
No,
motor
I
and
want
stuff
to
like
that. I want a 1993 Jeep Wrangler, and then I want to put Jurassic Park.
Oh, he
logos on
would,
it.
wouldn't he?
Or a Ford Explorer. one of
No,
the
no,
old
no, not the
Explorers.
Explorer. That one's lame. I want the off-road one.
He would do it. He would
Yeah.
totally
See, they did
do
it for
too.
the Jurassic World movie.
Let's see.
Oh God, that is bad.
Bad.
Oh, that's so
By
ugly.
bad, you mean awesome?
That's
All right.
that's
bad.
a ML. That's a Mercedes
Yeah, I know,
ML.
but that's
It's
the
bad.
only one that popped up right away.
Ugh.
So anyway,
Yep, that's all we got.
awesome. I think that's it. Hit us up on social media. Talk to us. We'll talk about you on the show.
Yeah, we've had a
Share
lot
us,
of
like us.
we've had a lot of interest this week, or activity rather, on our social media sites, and we really enjoy that.
We like it.
Yeah, definitely.
We
So
love
keep
the feedback.
keep
Come
doing
talk to us. Comment on our stupid posts.
Tell us how bad or good we're doing.
Yeah, and we honestly do take your feedback into consideration and make changes or updates or try to make the show better for people that want to listen. So,
We appreciate it.
yeah, absolutely. We done?
Yeah, we'll catch you next week.
I got nothing.
All right. Thanks, guys. We'll catch you next week.
Bye.